Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Luke Williams, student broadcaster at Ohio State University. How's it going?
Going good. Happiest I've ever been. How are you, Casey?
I'm doing well. Well, before we kind of get into this, why don't you get it? Why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do?
Yeah, so currently I work as a freelance esports and sports commentator covering 38 different titles. Back before then, I was a professional esports athlete for Ohio Northern University for about 2 years. And then after the program was shut down, expanded out to esports with my broadcasting and now sports as well.
So, um, the interesting thing about the esports stuff, like for people that it's could because it could be anything like competitive, with the competitive video games, all that fun stuff. Like, what have you called? Because esports is such a broad range of different things.
Yeah, I pretty much called everything. I like I said, 38 total titles, 22 of those are for esports. So everything from first person shooters, my favorite game, Apex Legends, to something like Rocket League, which is similar to soccer in real life, but just played with cars. So I've called pretty much everything from that to MOBAs to everything in between.
I've talked to a lot of people that have broadcasted a lot of things. Like, how different is it to broadcast the esports stuff?
It's pretty different. I mean, the biggest thing is you don't have the not the human aspect, I would say, but the like real person. Like you're always dealing with a gamer tag, which for better or for worse, is a custom name of the person. So you kind of get to have some fun with that. But it also means that you don't have to do as much prep going in. You don't have to say, here's the person, here's exactly where they were born and those statistics, because sometimes people play games to escape. So you don't necessarily want to be like, this is their hometown, this is exactly where they're located and stuff. So
Yeah, for sure. So, like, have you called any other like sports and all that stuff? Like, I'm pretty sure you've called a lot of things.
yeah, so back when I was at Ohio Northern, I got to call some soccer and their run all the way through the Division 3 national championship run. So that was really cool. But after I went back to Ohio State, I took about a year off from casting sports, and they have a really good radio program at Ohio State that I give a lot of my credit to that I joined this year. They sent me to a bunch of different places: Chicago, Duluth, Minneapolis as well, to call some ice hockey. And then they also have a connection program to Big Ten Plus, which is every Big Ten school has a TV broadcast for these different sports titles that are not necessarily like football or they're super popular ones. So I've really gotten to call anything I wanted. I mean, I called swimming, rowing, gymnastics, and then a lot of your basic sports like soccer and what have you, basketball and stuff.
When did you decide that you wanted to do this?
I don't know. I mean, it was kind of so back when when I was entering Ohio Northern, I wanted to do video editing full time. And that was a pretty big passion of mine. But I got in there and my teacher was like, video editors aren't really just video editors anymore. They kind of have to do everything. And I'm like, well, I don't really like to do all that other stuff. So I'm like, oh, I really liked the broadcast aspect of esports when I had run a couple smaller leagues. When I was playing on my off time, I'd kind of admin them and like stream them on Twitch and be like, "Oh, I could be the voice of these guys." I'm like, you know what? That was super interesting. Maybe I should try and pursue it because Ohio Northern had a really nice esports program where they had a full broadcast room. Anybody could come in and call their game. So after that, that kind of hit. But then I kind of realized why not try everything and see if I like it? So maybe 4 years ago, but I mean, anytime in between, I've loved every moment.
Okay, so would you say what is the primary thing that you do? Like calling?
I mean, that's tough to pinpoint. I mean, I think I'll give you my favorite. My favorite is probably ice hockey for sports and Rocket League for esports. But like I said, I kind of am in that freelance stage where, especially in esports, I'll just like pick up a gig here, pick up a gig there, whenever anybody needs me.
So if someone called like someone asked you to call an esports thing, like how would that work?
So the first thing would be if I know the game title or not. If I don't, I do a lot of upfront prep. It's a lot different than sports where you build like an hour and a half to 2 hours. You build your spotting board, you build everything you want in terms of the info. A lot of the upfront prep for esports is learning the title, making sure you know the names of the heroes that are in play or their ability names, or especially if you're calling a match, who the players are and whatnot. but half the time it's just like these random players. So you kind of got to walk in blind, prepare yourself for anything and everything, and be just up to date on the current esports meta, as they call it, because of esports, they update their games every month or two, and it can completely change, unlike something like soccer or football where the rules aren't really heavily changing.
So like, are you like trying to keep up on like, is there like certain things that certain games you that you call and keep updated on, or is it just like whatever they ask you to do or something?
Yeah, I mean, I usually keep up with the games I'm currently calling. There's a league I mainly work for in Pennsylvania called the PIEA, which does Rocket League, Valorant, Overwatch, and Fortnite. So those are games that release updates pretty often. But like I said, if I'm calling a new game, I will make sure to keep up to date on the patch notes.
Do you feel like that maybe the esports thing is the way to go, or do you still like to do the sports side of things?
I really like both. I think as I've done more esports over time, I think personally to me, esports feels a little bit less stable and there's a little bit less of a job market there where I mean you talk about a specific game title, there's maybe 8 to 12 broadcaster spots at the tippy top level. Where you're talking like maybe something like soccer, there could be like up to 100 jobs at that top level.
Right.
So it's not only tough to break in, but also I've had esports stuff that just like disappears overnight. I was calling an event series for that was on every Wednesday for like 2 years straight. And then they just cut the funding completely to it. Where like sports, you probably know the football season isn't going to disappear overnight.
Yeah. So on the sports side, like, there's opportunities a lot of places. I'm pretty sure that you've gotten a lot of gigs to do a lot of things. Like where do you see yourself ending up?
I would hope. I would love to do ice hockey full time. That would be my sports selection choice. But I mean, I just want to tell stories at the end of the day. If I'm calling minor league rowing or whatever it will be, if that's the place I end up, that's the place I want to end up. And if it pays the bills, if it gives me enough joy, then that's kind of what I want to do.
Yeah. So like I know you've gotten to do a lot of things and as you wrap up your college tenure and in the next few months, like where do you really what are you surprised with all the success that you've had in the last few years?
I'm very surprised. I'm ecstatic that anybody would choose just a random old Hilliard kid that wants to call their games. And I've kind of expanded, past broadcasting. I've done some PA announcing and some different stuff as well. That, I mean, at the end of the day, I think sports is just about taking every opportunity you can get. And like I said earlier, I mean, there were a lot of kids in that Big Ten Plus program that didn't really want to do the gymnastics or swimming or rowing, even. And I'm like, you know what? Why not? If it can open up different avenues, if it can get different eyes on me, and that all kind of culminates actually. Just this last week, I accepted a broadcaster play-by-play position for World Chase Tag.
Nice. So and really just like what have you got coming up the next few months? Like what are some of the things that you got going?
Yeah, so the World Chase Tag stuff actually starts this weekend, Saturday the 26th, I believe, at 4 p.m. PST. So I'll have a couple events of those. During the summer is a little bit more empty period for me right now. So I'm going to try bouncing around doing some public address stuff. But also I have for esports, the PIEA state finals, which will be in person in Pennsylvania, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah. So World Chase Tag. What's that?
So it's a physical sport. I mean,
Yeah.
we all played tag as a kid, but it's kind
Yeah.
of to the highest level. So they play kind of in like a 20 by 20-foot cube that has a boundary on the outside and then has just a bunch of random metal obstacles. So you play in like teams of 5 or 6. You send one player as your chaser, and then the other team sends someone as the evader. And the whole goal is the evader tries to run for 20 seconds and the tagger tries to catch him for 20 seconds. So it's a really, really high octane thing. And it's kind of a more niche sport. I mean, I know a lot of people have kind of seen some stuff on it about social media, but like it doesn't get as much coverage as I think it should.
Yeah. Well, Luke, thanks for letting us learn a little bit about you and congrats on all your successes so far. And let's have you on again sometime.
Yeah, for sure.